Recording in progress.
Okay, so first of all, we have agenda for this webinar, and I'm going to introduce the speakers, and after that I will ask Martina to give us the introduction of the topic of this webinar. After that, we are going to introduce INCiTiS-FOOD and EWA-BELT projects that organized this session. After that, our experts are going to give presentations and their insights, and we will have open floor and discussion. So this is where you can ask your questions, and where you will get the answer to this. Before we start, I will introduce the speakers, and the first speaker is Dr. Joseph. He is a plant breeded and research scientist with a history of 15 years working in the research industry. His research interest includes developing crop varieties for adaptation to dry ecologies and participatory plant breeding involving farmers and other end users. Dr. Michael, he is an associate professor in agricultural and applied economics, former head of Department of Applied Economics, and current director of the West African Center for Sustainable Rural Transformation, that Center of African Excellence at the University for Development Studies. His research focuses on traditional corporate investments in agricultural commercialization and African smallholders, sustainable food systems, and economic development. Dr. James, he is the principal research scientist in agronomy and director and lead consultant in tillage and cropping systems at Kundok Development Consult. He has over 24 years of experience in research in the areas of cropping systems and soil fertility maintenance for crop production. Dr. Emmanuel is a senior lecturer who specializes in aquaculture. He teaches at the University for Development Studies in the Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources Management. He covers various aspects of aquaculture, such as fish nutrient, water quality, and fish pathology. His research focuses on fish diseases and health management. So these are our speakers, and now I will ask Martina to introduce the topic of the webinar. Martina, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Christina, and thank you all for joining us today, and thank you for our panelists for accepting our invitation. It is a pleasure to have you all here. Let me just share my screen real quick. So as you might have guessed from the title of this webinar, today we are going to discuss about the participatory approach and the importance of engaging directly with actors all along the entire value chain. So today we are going to explore how the two projects, the EWA-BELT project and the INCiTiS-FOOD project, are implementing the participatory approaches and in what way they are doing so through testimonials, through case studies, or research activities, or other events. we are going to emphasize the importance of collaborating with farmers, with extension service users, as well as other on-the-field agents, but also having the importance of engaging with the governmental institutions and organizations, both locally and regionally, but of course, as well as international organizations to emphasize or to upscale the research activities and the outcomes of the activities that the consortia are carrying out. So we are going to understand and we are going to hear from the panelists themselves what they are doing and what methodologies they are employing to test the research activities, as well as to exchange ideas, as well as proposals in real world contexts, acknowledging to the challenges and the opportunities that are present in the communities the two projects are involving. So this webinar is specifically focusing on our partners or our consortium in Ghana. So we are going to hear from our partners in Ghana what they are doing. Of course, giving a special attention to specific topics or events or other capacity building activities that the partners have organized or have participated in. The overall objective, so what we're basically doing or what we're trying to do with this webinar and in general with the projects themselves is to ensure that the findings and the ideas and the projects, as well as the knowledge and the best practices that are already present in the communities we are engaging with can be combined with innovative solutions, and such combination of practices and knowledge must be shared not only among the consortia themselves, but beyond the borders of the projects, in order to secure food, or in order to promote food security in Ghana first, because today is we are in Ghana, but also in sub-Saharan Africa in general, as well as to extend such knowledge towards the African continents. So with that, I conclude with this brief introduction on the topic. And if you give me some time, I'll just I'll share my screen on the EWA-BELT project, on a presentation on the EWA-BELT project, so that I can then give the floor to Olivera for the presentation of the INCiTiS-FOOD project. So I think you should be able to see my other screen now. So the EWA-BELT project, its full name is actually linking East and West African farming systems experience into a belt of sustainable intensification. And it involves 20 partners. We are operating specifically in 10 countries, but 6 of them are sub-Saharan Africa, located in East and West Africa. So we are operating in Burkina Faso, Sierra Leone, and Ghana. And on the other side, we are also operating in Kenya, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. We have established 34 farmer fields research units, and I'm going to give you a little bit of details about these particular spaces later on in the presentation. So what is the overall objective of the EWA-BELT project? The overall objective is to promote agricultural production systems based on a sustainable intensification approach in East and West Africa through participative research, through a participative research project. And the overall aim of the project is also to establish an interregional African belt that is capable of promoting and implementing the best practices that the research activities that we are carrying out are offering among different contexts, both in sub-Saharan Africa, but also across the other regions in the continent. In order to do so, we have identified a series of technologies that we are implementing. So we are giving a particular, we are dedicating particular attention to the technologies or to the topics that you see here presented, that is the neglected and underutilized crop species. We're working on soil management, on land recovery, as well as water management, but we're also contributing to the combination of agri-livestock management, as well as giving some insights on plant protection. We are also dedicating special attention to ICT and the digital technologies through the creation of some easy portable tools and a digital platform that you can see or that you can further develop or further know on our website. So as I said before, the participatory approach within the EWA-BELT project has been defined from the very beginning of the project itself. And the overall goal is to empower local communities and institutions in order to retrieve and to consolidate their knowledge and their traditions and integrate it with innovative solutions. In order to do so, the consortium has offered or offers different ways to do so, different activities, and their partners are carrying out. So, for instance, our partners have been running field evaluations with the farmers and on the field agents themselves. They've also organized the workshops and trainings with them in order to share knowledge, as well as they have conducted interviews and other sorts of activities to retrieve traditional knowledge. In particular, there have been 3 different levels of implementing this participatory approach. The first one is locally through the farmers' field research units. The second one is nationally through the national stakeholder assemblies, and then again international through the general assemblies. So what are the farmer field research units, or how we call them FRUs? They have been conceived as co-learning spaces where research, innovation and demonstrations, as well as trainings and educational activities are being tested and realized. So they basically involve not only the researchers from the research centers and universities with which we collaborate, but they include a selection of stakeholders involving farmers, development agents, representatives of farmers' unions, as well as public, local, and regional institutions to experiment and to share practices and knowledge towards of course, on different ranges of issues to test them and to share them across the entire value chain. Here are the FRUs in Ghana. So as you can see, they are basically located in the northern region of Ghana, and our partners, Dr. Joseph and Dr. James, will be highlighting a little bit more on the activities that they have been conducted. But on our website, you can all see where the other FRUs are implemented or are located in the other countries. So I'll stop here, and I'll give the floor to Oliveira, who is going to give a presentation on the INCiTiS-FOOD.
Thank you so much, Martina, and thank you for the overview of the EWA-BELT project. It is always good to give a short glance at what we do and what our initiative are about. In terms of INCiTiS-FOOD, we keep it short. We don't want to waste time and take away from our valuable speakers. So in concrete, INCiTiS-FOOD stands for Integrated and Circular Technologies for Sustainable City Regions, Food Systems in Africa. In a sense, our project goals are quite simple. It is to enhance the nutritional and food security in Africa's city regions by primarily reducing environmental impacts and promoting circularity. We focus solely on community empowerment as one of our main pillars, and we do this through empowering communities to create opportunities in the whole agri-food supply chain by promoting environmental justice through transformative policies. How do we do this? Well, our approach is that we try to adopt an interdisciplinary approach, integrating technologies, engaging stakeholders, building capacities, and of course, fostering this European-African partnership in this collaborative scheme. And you see here just a quick overview of our main highlights. Our coordinator, Dr. Gertrude and Dr. Emmanuel Benjamin are also in the meeting here. So if you have questions for them at the end, feel free to also include them. How do we do this and how have we envisioned our project? It is through some of our main pillars, which is this innovative approach that I've mentioned that combines a multi-actor approach and lean startup methodology, fostering a collaborative space among innovative actors across 8 different living labs. We do this by promoting standards and practices. So our innovative processes begin with use case approaches that allow for prototypes to emerge. How does this all happen? Through interactive development. So our actors are focusing on the living lab approach, meaning working on the same use cases over different geographical regions, all while having concrete capacity building and mutual learning. The interactive development allows for circular iterations, or let's say circular adoptions and moving forward, where end users have feedback, they produce results that are concrete and applicable to their regions. And of course, the idea is that we will have large-scale demonstrators to show everything that we have done through our 2 open calls or our financial support to third parties. So in case you are interested in that, please do go to our website and search for this. I mentioned that one of our main pillars is the approach to circularity. So INCiTiS-FOOD focuses on co-creating circular agri-food technologies, practices, and business models. All of these technologies that we do are focused to create a more inclusive food system in African urban areas. How do we do that? I tried to explain it before, but this image quite easily summarizes it. We have a technology emphasis and a sustainability emphasis. The technology emphasis allows our project to nest under 3 pillars. The 3 pillars are hydroponics, aquaculture or recirculating aquaculture systems or RAS, and insect farming. And as you see from the image, they all interact with one another, creating this closed loop, positive, sustainable system. And of course, these circular agri-food technologies are well suited for Africa as they are resource efficient, require minimal land, water, and financial resources. So this is what pushed forward the development and the implementation of the INCiTiS-FOOD project. And as I mentioned, our main focus is creating this change in Africa itself. So we focus on a living lab approach. Namely, we have 8 living labs located around 6 countries in Africa. And you can see the map over here showing where all of our living labs are located. And today we are showing our insights from the Ghana region. Why are living labs important? Because this approach contrasts the traditional laboratory approach because it operates in a real-life context and a user-centric approach. So all of the information that we present here have been collected from people on the ground with their own unique experiences, and everything that is developed is gained to increase their benefit and their sustainable approach. The living labs are led by our African partner organizations, and they are in that context positive in the socio-technological innovation perspective in terms of co-design, co-creation, and capacity building. And this is just a quick picture, but of course our Ghanaian partners are going to show you more, but this is what the INCiTiS-FOOD project is all about. So thank you so much. I'm going to quickly stop sharing my screen And then I will give the floor to our first speakers, who are Dr. Michael and Dr. Enrique. So please, the floor is yours.
I share my screen.
We can see your screen.
Okay. Put on presentation.
From our side, everything seems to be working, so we're able to see your screen.
All right. Thank you very much. My name is Michael Ayanga. I'm the leader of the INCiTiS-FOOD Living Lab at the University for Development Studies in Ghana. I'm here with my colleague, Dr. Abalke, who is also one of the managers of the Living Lab and the technician as well. There are a lot of things, success stories that we could have projected, but we chose to talk about onboarding because in the process of implementing this project, we realized that
Michael, sorry to interrupt you.
And,
Michael, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but if you're trying to share, to change a slide, we are not seeing a change slide. So we only see the first one showing.
no, I haven't changed.
Okay, great. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, that's okay. So we realized that the onboarding or our co-creation approach is a very innovative tool, apart from allowing us to achieve our objective of implementing our project. We do realize that it is perhaps one important tool that could enhance agricultural innovations talk to end users, particularly farmers and young people. One of the challenges we have in Northern Ghana particularly has been the issue of our failure to get a sustainable uptake of technologies. And this makes upscaling extremely difficult. We have identified over time that when innovations are rolled out, there's initial enthusiasm and people pick them on. And where there are incentives involved, especially inputs or any other incentive for production, you have some level of continued use for a period of time, then we have a very significant levels of disadoption. So to sustain continuous use of agricultural technologies, that become problematic. And in the process of iterations in our Living Lab, we did realize that this idea of co-creation through our onboarding process not only helps to spread our technology, but actually improves better understanding of it, and then eventually some sustainable uptake or some realistic interests are being generated. Usually, disadoptions in Northern Ghana are used as a result of the cost of technologies and innovations. Most of the time, farmers or maybe new adopters or innovators get to realize after maybe going in that the cost is so much, is huge, and they didn't fully grasp the economic implications of what they were going through, because often people are invited to, let's say, a farm demonstration, a farm visit, or an extension worker takes a final product to the farmers and they have to use. So they realize the challenges associated most of the time to discourage and increase high levels of disuse. There are also economic risk factors because, as I indicated, the time to get to know the prospects and the cost of production and potential returns Northern Ghana. They also.
Michael, I'm very sorry, but I don't know if you're trying to move the slides, but they're not moving.
They are not.
No, so all the time you have been speaking, the slides are not moving. We only see your first slide. That's why I tried to highlight to you in the beginning. Can you try to change the slide?
Maybe because it's not in the presentation mode.
Maybe. It is in the presentation mode. Maybe there's another slide there open. So.
No worries, we can fix this. Can you try to maybe?
It's possible.
It happens sometimes that if you are in presentation mode, you don't see the slide moving. So try to get out of the presentation mode. The screen will be a little bit reduced, but we will see the different slides. Sorry for that.
Thank you for the feedback. If you're not able to go around, Michael, do you want us to maybe share the presentation on your behalf? We have it loaded in case you wish for us to share it. Michael, would you like us to share?
Yes, you can share. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Can you please? All right. All right, great. Thank you for stopping share. I can share the screen now. No worries. All right, so I assume that you went over this slide, right?
Yes.
All right, I'm just waiting for it to be recorded in case our participants want to come back to the slides and read them. So you let me know.
Okay. Okay, I see.
Here?
That's okay.
Great, no worries.
That's fine. Thank you, Oliviera.
Of course, you can just let me know with next slide to move on.
Okay. I was saying that also sometimes there seems to be a conflict with the traditional practices that are going on, and most early adopters just cannot associate the new innovations with their own production environments. So they tend to be surprises along the way. We are also highly constrained with agriculture extension services. So getting these much needed technologies to farmers and getting them to study it over time becomes a challenge. And these things work to is a problem. So we worked around. We can move to the next stage. Next slide, please. So I'll just add this one. Next one, please. Next slide, Oliviera. Okay, good. So as I indicated, apart from the technology sometimes not back up, please, Oliviera. Just back up. Okay, good. Thank you. So as I did indicate, sometimes the technologies are not suitable to the farmer context, and they go to somewhere to adopt it, take it back to their farming systems, and they are not able to marry these two things. The kind of infrastructure they also operate in their farmer settings sometimes tends not to agree with the technologies that they go to pick up, maybe at a demonstration site or something that an extension farmer brings. So we felt that our process of onboarding farmers and then working with them to co-create the knowledge helps us circumvent some of these unseen circumstances. Olivia, the next slide, please. So what did we seek to do in the Ghana Living Lab and under our INCiTiS-FOOD project? We decided that we would bring farmers in there through our open days and road shows and other events that we use to promote the program. But these events are not used to disseminate and encourage adoption. We are actually inviting people to come and look at what is going on in the living labs, get to be part of the process of not only production, but helping us fine-tune the system that is adopted to farmer activities and farmer conditions that are going on. What happens in the process is that they get to know everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, in the living lab. So they don't get up one day and then they see something well packaged and with a label that you can get 100 kilograms from this, and they don't know that sometimes maybe the heat can dry out everything. We get up in the morning and things are changing, and they are working through together with the technicians, bringing ideas from their context, which is brought on board the iteration process. So at the end of the day, the innovator has full knowledge of what is going on. He has a thorough understanding of what he's into, so that when he's taking a technology home, he understands that this is what could happen, this is how it fits my system, and this is how I'm going to probably manage it. They get to know the cost implications as well, what we are buying, how we are fixing them, and they are adopting a technology plus getting some capacity building and training, and also already having some knowledge of what could go wrong in the system. And by so doing, we believe that it helps us some of the challenges that come with to the next slide, please. So, as I indicated, the process is usually very quite straightforward. We go on roadshows, that is, try to talk about our Living Lab and our project and our innovations in activities that we set up elsewhere, and to tell people everything about the project, the process, the prototype that we are running, the potential for them to onboard and then learn, probably try the technology, and if possible, adopt it. We talk about everything from the production to the cascade funds that Oliviera mentioned. So if you look at these pictures, that is me sharing the INCiTiS lab, Living Lab in Ghana with the Chamber of Commerce, or Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs. And the idea was to share it. We have held a number of them sharing this innovation with women groups and so on. We also have open days where we invite other people to come into the Living Lab and interact, see what is going on. And by so doing, we have built a significant knowledge of the system, interest in it, and there's all-round desire both to use it as a learning platform, as an innovation platform, and also as a place for skills training. And that is particularly something we realized. We are still in the process of discussing how we can actually fit this thing into Ghana's youth employment program. And it is the idea is to bring young people in, train them, and if possible, they can get support from government to probably start some of these things. The innovation here and the social impact of this project is the issue of trying to solve the land access problem, especially in urban and peri-urban spaces, where access to farmland for the conventional agriculture that we are used to becomes a problem. We are in the rainy season now. If you come to northern Ghana, where we live, every corner is fenced. anywhere somebody sees the fence and they are making gardens. So the social impact of this project is seen in its ability to get production going and some sizable livelihood activity within a small space. So it also solves some important problem there. And I think that is what is driving the interest in the project. So once this happens, they are now brought into the living lab and they are now visiting. They become part and parcel of it, so they can engage in the living lab for a considerably longer period of time. It's not a one-day farm visit or a one-day extension visit. You become part and parcel of the living lab, go through a production learning process, and eventually you get to know whether you want it or not. So in the next slide, and probably my last one before Emmanuel comes in, we have a picture of some of the women onboarded in the living lab where they are seeing everything. They are not coming in as visitors where you get up and put everything in order and the pictures are good and then they see, no, this one, they see everything and sometimes initially it looks embarrassing, but they get used to it and it is a very important way. And I think that one of the strongest tools that this INCiTiS project will leave for agricultural practitioners is perhaps for us to add the issue of onboarding and co-creation of knowledge as a means of disseminating technologies rather than just the one-day field school or an extension visit, because we are seeing it take away some of the constraints and reduce the learning curves for technology adoption. I'll leave this to Emmanuel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. Even though we had technical difficulties and an issue with the connection, we managed to deliver a great presentation. So thank you so much for your insights and for presenting the Living Lab in Ghana. Dr. Aberike, please, the floor is yours. Whenever you feel comfortable, you may present.
Okay, so thank you, Oliviera, for the opportunity. Thank you, Michael, for giving us already a head start. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we're able to see your screen.
Great, thank you. So I think at this point, I would like to shed some light on the things that we actually do in the Living Laboratory in Ghana. To begin with, I would like to say that we have adopted aquaponics as one of the secular technologies. And to that effect, we have a modeled aquaculture setup on the premises of the Living Lab for training purposes. In this aquaponics setup, we have successfully reared the African catfish and then now tilapia in the aquaponic unit. And also we have been successful in growing tomatoes, pepper, mint, amaranthus, among others, in the hydroponics unit. We've also added some other aquaponic setups, such as the chop and flip setup, which we kind of like adopted from one of our sister living laboratories, that is A-Globe in Nigeria. And we have tried to modify it in a way that we can operate it manually, that is reduce the use of energy to run maybe pumps or aerators in the system. The other circular technology which we have adopted and we are promoting seriously is hydroponics. And with this system, we are using the drip irrigation system to cultivate okra and pepper. We have not been able to complete the cycles for these ones yet because we started it not quite long. The system actually tries to combine the Dutch bucket system and the media bed system for aquaponics. We learned about the Dutch bucket system when we went for a General Assembly meeting at Urban University in Nigeria. And so you could see that these two pictures that we have shown, it shows the beginning of the system and then the current state of the system with regards to the growth of the vegetables that we have there. With regards to what we do also in the Living Lab, I will want to announce that since the establishment of the Living Lab about a year ago, we have been successful in organizing training sessions for the consortium members. In fact, our Living Laboratory was the first to begin the training for other living laboratory members. After that training, we have since had hands-on training for different batches of students, especially those in the field of aquaculture. And as Michael earlier on pointed out, we have had open days where we have had countless field tours of our system. The laboratory is strategically located in a place that is easily seen, and so it's attracting a lot of people, especially when they get to hear that you are growing plants on water, and that alone, fascinates them. Our laboratory has been opened to the general public, and as he has also indicated before, we have plans to train women and then youth groups in aquaculture and vegetable farming in the upcoming days. Why we chose these two secular technologies? Well, it's because these are technologies that we are comfortable with, and they are technologies that we think that we can integrate into our system given our geographic location. Of course, you will all agree with me that aquaculture and hydroponics are secular technologies that are space efficient. And due to the current dispensation of rapid urbanization coupled with space scarcity, also as was mentioned by the first presenter, we find that these technologies are technologies that can easily be adapted, and they would be able to contribute to the food basket and, for that matter, food security in the long run. Aside from the fact that they are water efficient, they are also able to enable us to overcome, seasonal limitations, as this may be the case with many conventional methods. Since the establishment of these technologies in our living laboratory, we have been able to demonstrate to many people that it is possible for us to have all year round cultivation, with these systems. And so we find that these technologies, given their nature, are sustainable. And they are sustainable in the sense that they actually reduce waste and nutrient losses. And that alone in itself is a great incentive for many people to adapt. Why we adopted the co-creation approach, I just want to shed some more light on that, following what Michael initially talked about. We've adopted this co-creation approach because of the multifaceted benefits that we can get from them. So in our living laboratory, the approach helps participants to create innovative solutions that addresses challenges they encounter with regards to the operation of the system. In addition, the approach also provides solutions that are holistic in nature. For instance, it is able to provide solutions that can address issues that are related to aquaculture and issues that are related to vegetable farming because of the integrated nature. We feel that with the co-creation approach, it gives participants social equity, and by so doing, it empowers all of them to benefit from these sustainable technologies. It is usually very interesting for you, for instance, to see maybe a researcher, maybe a lecturer, and then the student and the farmer somewhere. They're all thinking about what they can do to be able to overcome a problem that ensues in the course of their operation in the living laboratory. What participants expect or what participants are to expect. This is an ongoing process, so we have had some people coming into the living lab and they are participating in the activities, and also we have some people who are showing some interest. But all in all, participants in our living lab are usually encouraged to work together, particularly with the core team, in order to be able to develop solutions. You can see in the pictures participants really working together to be able to find solutions to some problems that they might have encountered. They are usually often also encouraged to share ideas to be able to broaden their horizon as they work together with others. Periodically, we try to carry out brainstorming sessions, just to be able to create, solutions that can, address problems that we encounter, especially during the operations of this system. The core team also physically, tries to provide guidance just to ensure that working sessions, are uninterrupted. And these are things that participants, appreciate most. And these are things that participants are to expect when they come to our living laboratory. I hope that we have new people here who might, in the end, register to be onboarded into our living laboratory. Whilst participants have expectations to meet when they come to our living laboratory, there are also roles that we assign to them, especially those who come on a regular basis. Some of the roles that we assign to them maybe feeding fish. You may not probably be there on a daily basis, but each time you come, this is a role that normally is reserved for you to do. Nutrient level determination, tendering of growing birds, and general maintenance of the systems, and so on and so forth. So these are things that we do with participants when they come, and it is really fascinating. It makes them feel that they really belong to the place when they come. It is not like they want to come and maybe a stranger has come and he has to fold his arms and then wait for probably the host to tell him or her what he has to do. On this note, I would like us to perhaps now listen to some of the testimonies from some of the participants. We hope that this will give more light and a truer reflection of that which pertains to our living laboratory. So let's sit tight and enjoy the videos.
One thing about this place that I like very much is that the setup is nice, and then I see it to be one that's construction of which won't be so difficult. I like the fact that everything going here is organic, and also the vegetables here are very fresh and they last longer compared to the ones we buy on the farm. I really like to have my own setup like this, like a backyard garden for myself and family or something like that. Something cute and nice like this. Yeah. On the part of the challenges involved, I see that getting something like this set, it's capital intensive, and also the expertise. I really like others to also be involved in this, because seeing plants growing on water, it's something that your mind won't even come close to something like that existing. So I think it's a very big. I really encourage like other people to also try to learn about it.
So there you have it for the first video. Let's look at the second one. This is about a student who is from the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries Sciences, and she's a final year student. Let's hear what she also has to say about her experience.
For 4 years now. Coming to this lab for the past 3 to 4 months. This place is always a lively place that when you come here, you can lift your mood, and you see fish grow and then plants together. It's something you don't see every day, so it's always nice to come around. Oh, this is something I really love to have. I've studied agriculture for the past 4 years, so if I can have something like this in my home, even if not for, let's say, commercial, my own satisfaction and then my family consumption. I think I would like to encourage everybody to learn about aquaponics, to grow fish and then healthy vegetables or other foods for yourself and your family. So if you could come here and then learn how to do with your own backyard, you're able to grow fish and then grow very healthy vegetables for your family.
So I would like to just add that with this particular student, even though she's just in a final year, actually she's now doing her research work now, she did indicate to me that she wants to learn more about what we do in the living laboratory, and for that matter, she wants to come and do her national service with the department. She can have access to the place on a daily basis. Let's move on to the next one and listen to the last one. This is also a participant who has shown great interest and enthusiasm because she's able to get supply of her vegetables from the living laboratory. This is what she has to say.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Please, fund manager, I've come again to get more vegetables today. And the last time I actually came, I enjoyed the vegetables a lot. It's totally different because anytime I harvest this, when I take it to the house, I can actually preserve it for at least 3 days.
Wow.
But compared to the market ones, mostly they get rotten.
Okay.
And I'm also from the Nyankala community.
Mm.
And I actually like these vegetables because and the
Mm.
environment of the setup,
Yeah.
we can actually do something like this at our backyard to enable us enjoy it. I expect to set up it at my home and
Okay.
also other
Mm.
women within my community can
Okay.
also learn, and then we can set up something like this.
So I'd like to add that the interest in the vegetables is so high that they don't even allow the vegetables to grow to an appreciable amount before they are harvested. Day in, day out, we find people like this coming to visit the living laboratory and to have access to some of the products that we turn out from the living laboratory. On this note, I would like to say thank you for your attention. I want to hand over back to Viviera to continue from there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ebirike. It's wonderful to see testimonials, and it's wonderful to see how on-ground things work for people. And thank you so much for them agreeing again to be shown, to be visible. So without further ado, we will move on to our other speaker from the agenda. Apologies. Dr. James, please. If you are able to turn on your camera and take the floor whenever you feel comfortable. And this is just a kind reminder to our participants, please do use the chat. We do already have some questions coming in directly to me, so please continue having them sent in, and we will attend to them in a short minute. Dr. James, do you hear us?
Perhaps we can move to Dr. Joseph Ajapeng.
No, I'm already on.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Here you are.
Fantastic. So, Doctor, whenever you feel comfortable, you can share your presentation.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now perfectly.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay. So I'm James Kombiok of KDC in Tamale, Ghana. I am going to talk of introducing cultivation of fonio, a hunger closing gap in northern Ghana to farmers within the FFRU to enhance.
Sorry, Dr. Kombiok. If you can share the screen with your presentation, that would be helpful for all of us. Thank you.
There's always a green thing here you can share, but I can't find it.
All right, maybe we do move on to the second speaker while Dr. James prepares his presentation, or do you feel comfortable sharing your presentation now?
I've given the presentation to Laura, if she can share it for me, because I can't get the green thing here to share.
You don't have Laura. Can you tell us who Laura's first name is so we can give her rights?
Okay, I've seen it.
Great.
Okay, that's great.
But presentation mood. Okay.
Great.
Yeah, okay. So my topic is introducing the cultivation of fonio, a hunger gap closing crop in northern Ghana to farmers within the FFRU to enhance food security and improve family income. This is in relation to the overall topic, which is participatory approach. So first of all, we'll look at types of technology development I have experienced, advantages and disadvantages of each. Then we'll look at the the type of technology development we are using to introduce this FONU. Then the subtopic, we will look at why FONU was chosen, the attributes of FONU, and that fits in the area. Then how was the introduction carried out by KDC? Then we'll also look at the results so far of the introduction. Now, for this discussion, we'll just talk about two types of technology development and dissemination. And the first is what we call top-down, which sometimes they call it researcher-driven. And the second one is a participatory, where all the stakeholders take part in the process from the beginning to the end of the technology. So this is the nature of the top-down. The researcher just read literature, look at any knowledge gap. He goes ahead to design and experiment. Then when you get the results, it is extended to MOFA, and MOFA is actually Ministry of Food and Agriculture, where they are trained by the researcher, and then the extension officer also goes to farmers to train. So you realize that in this system, the power is more from the researcher, because the extension officer depends on the researcher, and the farmer depends on the extension. The feedback is not sufficient, and at times it does not exist at all. So you can see the small arrows pointing from the farmers to extension and extension to the researcher. So that is the nature of top-down or researcher-driven technology development. Now, what are the advantages? Less time is used in the development of the technology since the conceptual framework is done by the research. As I've mentioned, they look at literature and see any knowledge gap, then they just design it and they are able to do it. So this one, it doesn't concern a lot of stakeholders where we'll be discussing things. So it is faster that way, less time is used. Then the technology fits well in the minds of the researcher, but not the extensionists and the farmers who are top beneficiaries. If you are doing research for the farmer to be passed through extension, they are the beneficiaries. But it fits into your mind. But if you get the results that you now want to extend it, you have problems. So the advantage is that it fits well with the researcher. It is developed within a controlled environment, so the researcher does not encounter a lot of external influences or interferences. That's an advantage to the researcher. Then the researcher is able to communicate to his peers through journal publications within a short time, because if you get the results, the easiest way to communicate, and this time you are not communicating to the beneficiaries, but you are just communicating to your peers. So that's the advantage again to the researcher. But what are the disadvantages? The extensionists might have difficulties in understanding the technology, and therefore extending it to the farmer who may not be able to read and write in English will be a challenge, because the researcher did it on his own and he goes to train somebody, and that is a challenge. Training of research extensionists by research, and the extensionists also training the farmer on the technology in this system is laborious, and some essentials of the technology might get lost, because if I tell you something and you also pass it, definitely if it takes a long chain, there will be some losses. The technology may not fit into the farming system of the farmer, so adoption of the technology may be a problem. And then we have low number of extensionists to disseminate technology if you do it top down, because you have the technology. That's why in the 1990s, they were talking of technology sitting in the shelves of researchers, because sometimes it's very difficult to extend this since it was done by you alone. Now, this is the theoretical framework of participatory framework. This is the framework of the participatory approach. So we shall go through this briefly, relating to what we have done. we have got one up to the cyclical. It is not like the top-down approach. So the first stage, which is getting things started, one of the activities carried out in this step is community entry, where farmers at the meeting with all stakeholders list the challenges affecting their vocation and prioritize them. The farmers take time to state the coping strategies they are currently doing to solve the problem. This is a stage other stakeholders brainstorm to add more strategies to the farmer so that they can solve the problem. To take home at a time is to choose the first two top priorities because they are prioritized. And you cannot do all at the same time. So you just take the first two to work with the farmer. Then the second stage is looking for things to try. All the stakeholders then add to the existing knowledge on what the farmers are already doing to make it meaningful. For example, the scene in the Talansi Nabdan, farmers were just gathering the stones and creating space to plant their crops. But when they met with researchers, they realized that they can use the same stones to do banding that will reduce erosion and therefore conserve water and soil for the uptake of the crops. So that is one of the ways that participatory is good. Then step 3, design and plan. You sit down when you choose a problem, you sit down to plan and then to execute. And this can be led by either the extensionist or researcher who has some knowledge on the protocol of the implementation. Then step 4 is you've already established the trials. So step 4 is monitoring of the trials and data collection. And after data collection, you share the results of the trials to the whole meeting, which is made of all the stakeholders. Then the trial is either repeated to authenticate results or the next priority constraint to production is taken and the process continues. So it's not like the top down where the researcher thinks of a problem and then designs it and gets his results before sending it to the farmer. But this one is done together. So the approach chosen and why. The type of technology development approach chosen, we chose the participatory approach to technology because the approach involves all the stakeholders of agricultural development from the start, from conceptualizing the idea till the end. There's no need for training because the extensionists and all the stakeholders are at the meeting. Then less training exercises on the technology as all stakeholders took part in the development. So you don't need to train. If anything, you just go over it, but you don't train like coming from the researcher-driven technology. Adoption of the technology by farmers might not be a problem because the farmers were part of it, so they will not have a problem to adopt it. Networking between farmer and researcher and extensionist, and sometimes farmer and marketer is possible in this approach. But what are the challenges? There's nothing that has advantages without disadvantages. The challenges of this approach is that the approach has a lot of meetings of stakeholders, and therefore the several meetings will delay the process of technology development, unlike the top-down one. It may be expensive because of the provision of meeting supplies at every meeting, because you meet several times. Then transportation cost is high, especially if the communities are far apart from stakeholders. Just like we KDC going to NAPDAM to meet them, transportation is a problem. The approach requires some experts, such as facilitators. Some people must be trained to facilitate. Otherwise, if you go to a group to meet, it will be difficult to come out with a consensus decision. So why did we choose FONU? in the four districts we are working with, making the FFRU are characterized by one short rainy season with a large period of dry season and poor soils. These are major problems affecting their agricultural production. Even the short rainy season has intermittent drought. Intermittent drought to start raining, then sometimes it takes about 2-3 weeks before another rain. And that is what I term intermittent drought. The people there are mainly peasant farmers and are prone to periods of hunger within every year. So these are their characteristics. And FONO was chosen to be introduced to these farmers. In this case, due to the fact that FONO can withstand this intermittent drought, it can do well on poor soils without external input. But because they are not rich enough to secure sufficient external inputs, most of their crops like maize and so on are not doing well. But this FONO can do without any additional input from outside. And the crop fits well into farming systems of the people because it's a cereal and it matures area. And I will explain why it is a hunger closing gap crop. So what attributes of FONO is that FONO probably is the oldest African cereal since its cultivation is thought to date back at 5000 BC. FONO has never been known in the wild state. However, its cultivation in Ghana has always been in a small scale until recently. Due to climate change effect, it has been considered climate smart crop, and also there now is a mechanical processing plant. FONO is described as one of the hunger closing gap closing crop because it is the first crop to be planted, and due to its short duration to maturity, the crop is able to mature and be harvested for food before the maturity of staple crops. And that is why it is known as, because when they plant the staple crops in May, June, by July, August, they run short of food. And if you planted FONO at that time, FONO will be ready by that July, August. So it feeds in so that it reduces the effect of the shortage of food they have. The period between the planting and harvest of this staple crop, like maize, sorghum, millet, and yam, is the time most farmers run short of food for the family, and FONO is used to close the hunger gap due to its early maturity. So that is the emphasis. And these are the attributes that made us to think of introducing FONO to where it is not yet grown.
Excuse me, Dr. Kombiel, could just you say that you have a few minutes left.
Oh, I'm almost finishing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So FONO is one of the world's best, tasty, and most nutritious. It has protein, methionine, and so on and forth. It has an attractive flavor and expands well when cooked. So we took the same cyclical approach, but in this state, we had the farmers made two serious constraints. That is short duration of rain and soil fertility. So we proposed FONO, which is short duration, and IFM to make the soil rich. Then varieties of FONO we suggested to implement. Then we established data collection, and we now have the result. This is a crop of FONO, sold FONO. Then this is the results. Out of the 4 varieties we introduced to the farmers, 2 were high yielding, and these 2, NAMDA and Infonica, was selected for demonstration. So 2 of them, Infonica, had higher yield than the rest. Infonica, which had the highest yield, also had the higher number of days to maturity. NAMDA, which had the second highest yield, had about 72 days to maturity. Most of the farmers preferred the shorter duration variety because of their situation. And what is their situation? Closing the hunger gap. So other benefits, it came out to discussing that we could intercrop fonio with legumes to maintain soil fertility for subsequent crop cultivation. That is in addition to ISL. The processor aggregator was identified to take off any extra fonio after home consumption if adopted. So the farmers within the FLU had fonio as one of the short duration crop to add to the early millet and maize varieties they had before to cope with the continuous. This is one of the fields of the intercrop of fonio, which is a cereal, and cowpea, which is a legume. In any case, the legume will fix nitrogen into the soil to maintain soil fertility for subsequent cropping. So in conclusion, at the results sharing stage, the two high-yielding varieties should be demonstrated among farmers, and this was repeated in 2023. But in 2024, we intend to train farmers on the cultivation of the crop and then to scale out by reaching farmers outside each of the 5 communities. However, the important aspect of the introduction by this method, which is the participatory approach, is farmers are delighted they are part of the food process to add fonio to the short duration crops to cope with the climate change. And they are willing to extend the crop to other areas in each district by farmer to farmer extension. They are now also connected to the processor who will take the extra crop produce for. So thank you very much for your time. Sorry I delayed more, but that is why the participative approach is the best compared to the research-driven approach. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and please don't apologize. We did experience some technical difficulties, so we might run a little bit over time. So we're just informing our participants that if you cannot stay past the designated time of the webinar, it's more than understandable. There will be a recording where we will answer the questions, but do try to stay until the end. So thank you so much, Dr. James. It was very informative to see the potential of a participatory approach and how it is more beneficial to the overall, let's say, target audience that we try to reach. So I will now call our last speaker to the floor. Dr. Joseph, whenever you feel comfortable, you can share your stream, and Dr. James, you can stop sharing your screen whenever you feel comfortable. Thank you so much. So,
morning.
Hello.
Morning.
Yes, my name is Joseph Ejabendankwa. I'm representing the Savannah Agricultural. Okay, so let me share the slide now. Is it in slideshow?
Not yet. Now I think it's yes. Now yes.
Okay. I'm presenting on participatory management of fall armyworm damage on maize using plant extracts and intercropping. And I'm presenting on behalf of a broader team, but these are some of the core members of the team. I'll follow this outline. I'll first of all look at the profile of SARI, our research approach, the role we are playing in the EWA-BELT project, why we settled on fall armyworm, the intervention we used in the fall armyworm management, the approach we followed, the activities we carried out, highlights of some results, key observations and lessons learned, and areas of future collaboration that the INCiTiS project can leverage on. SARI is one of the 13 institutes of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. We are based in Nyankpala with a mandate over 5 regions which are found in northern Ghana. And this area covers the Guinea and Sudan savanna ecologies of Ghana. And we have a mandate to conduct research into food and fiber crops, farming in northern Ghana for the purpose of introducing improved technologies that will enhance overall agricultural productivity. And this is the map of northern Ghana where our mandate covers, and it's approximately 41% of the total land mass, which means we have a very huge responsibility. And to carry out this, we have outstations in the Upper East and Upper West regions, in addition to satellite centers where staff are based to help us carry out our mandate. The main office is at Nyankala in the northern region. We use what we call farming systems research approach, where the end user, the farmers and other clients of ours occupy a very big center stage. So we have farming systems, Northern Region Farming Systems Research Group, Upper East Farming Systems Research Group, Upper West Farming Systems Research Group. These three farming systems research groups are backstopped by a broader group known as the Scientific Support Group, and where basic research is carried out, and based on the feedback we get from the farming systems, which directly work with the farmers and other end users. And we use participatory approach to design the technology or the product profile so that we can tailor our technologies to meet the needs of the end user. And we work in close collaboration with the Department of Agriculture, who act as a liaison between the researchers and the farmers or the community. So whatever technology goes through them, in terms of identifying beneficiary communities, we go through the Department of Agriculture, which have extension agents to facilitate the engagement. What is our role in the EWA-BELT project? SARI is actually taking part, carrying out research in 4 case study areas. And these 4 case study areas are located in the Upper East region, Northeast, and the Northern region. So we have Sablugu in the Northern region, Wale, West Mamprusi, Wale in the Northeast region, and then Talinsi and Nabdam in the Upper East regions. In addition, we had 3 on-station sites for validation of technologies that needed fine-tuning before sending them on farm. In the EWA-BELT project, we are carrying out activities from the work package 2 to work package 3. So we are doing agromorphological characterization and evaluation of Ghanaian and introduced for new assertions, demonstration on 5 released varieties of Frafra potato in the Nabdam and Talinsi district, integrated soil fertility management practices for millet and sorghum, then demonstration on intercropping, cowpea and cassava for improved productivity and land utilization, participatory assessment of efficacy of intercropping strategies and plant-based pesticides on fall armyworm management in maize, and a demonstration on fall armyworm management in maize using plant extracts in northern and northeast Ghana, and then development of effective pre- and post-harvest strategies to minimize mycotoxins in groundnut and maize. So looking at all these range of activities, we had to settle on one to present for this webinar. So we settled on fall armyworm as one of the interventions. And why fall armyworm? Fall armyworm has been a challenge with us since 2016, and due to the nature of the damage, people had to use all manner of pesticides, which led to the overuse of these chemicals. And most of these were broad spectrum and with very high toxicity. And these have consequences on the environment and also disrupting the biological system. So there was a need to develop an environmentally sustainable method to manage the fall armyworm. So based on indigenous traditional knowledge, we realized that farmers have been using plant extracts and cropping systems to manage pests in the past. And also our previous on-station studies have revealed that neem products are efficacious when it comes to managing insect pests. So we decided to set up this activity in the EWA-BELT project to look at intercropping with maize with legumes, groundnut and soybean, and also look at protection levels using neem seed oil, master, and also no protection. So based on, we settle on these levels. And so to begin the trial, we had to enter the community, and each community, per the research approach that we adopted, not just the fall armyworm, we had to go through the leaders of the community who then give permission, more or less, for us to begin the trial, and also the farmers to also engage us. This way, the farmers or the end users own the activity, and they don't see it as alien, or they are not just the trial site, but then they are abreast with whatever we want to do. And they can, once they buy into it, then adoption will not be a problem, even when the project ends. And so 2 districts were selected for this fall armyworm management. We looked at the West Mamprusi and then the Savlugu, and we had a number of communities, but I listed a few of them for the 2 districts. And we engaged a number of farmers also, both male and female, who actively participated in the activities. And after the communities were identified, we established the demonstration plots, after which we trained the farmers in the various good agricultural practices, especially training in the neem extract preparation, how to even scout and identify fall armyworm infestation on the field, and what stage they have to go in to do the spraying or the control. We also trained them on how to identify the symptoms of fall armyworm damage at the vegetative stage and also at the harvesting stage. And then when the trials matured, we also helped them to assess the yield from the various plots as part of the training process. So this is a typical field showing maize intercropped with groundnut on the left, and then maize intercropped with soybean on the right for the fall armyworm management. So you could see the stage of growth of the various crops, the soybean and then the groundnut, and the kind of protection that they are likely to offer. And this was based on both art and science. Art because that's what the farmers do, and science because when plants are planted in mixtures, they tend to bring out some hormones or phytochemicals that will disrupt the insects when it comes to locating the feeding source. So that was the science behind this intercropping. And then the art is because farmers intercrop their maize with legumes. So it will be easier for the farmers to actually buy into something like this because it is in line with their farming system. And this is a maize and soybean at a different maize field and also at a different stage of growth. So during the training session, we bring all the farmers together. The materials for the preparation of the neem products are also brought in there. We have the knapsack sprayers, the mortar, and then the pistols. And then the farmers are trained how to gather the raw materials and prepare them. And they are all, it is hands-on, they are all involved. Wherever they have a challenge, we also come in. And here they are preparing the neem seed extract, where they grind they pound the seeds, dissolve it in water, and then do the extraction before applying onto the crops. And at every stage, there are instructions to be given. Here, they are working on the neem leaves. These are readily available in the environment, and once the farmers know, they can prepare them and use. That is one surest way of sustainability. And then on the field too, they are trained how to identify the fall armyworm infected plants and then clean plants. So they can ask whatever question. So on the left, we have an AEA actively engaging the farmers, and on the right, you have a technician from SARI who is also providing explanation to them and how to even determine the threshold level, how to sample the fields for fall armyworm observation. Then at harvest, the plots, whichever plots that the crops are harvested from, they are all shelled, and then the observations are made, whatever assessment. So you have different groups handling each plot, and then after which all of them will go and observe the extent of damage that is found in each plot. So here are some of the results, the science aspect of the results, where we did actually statistical analysis to see whether there were statistically differences observed among the various treatments. In the first place, for the insecticide treatment, A-master, which is the chemical, the synthetic chemical, provided the most protection, where the number of larvae was lower, but it was not significantly different from the neem seed oil, though different from the untreated control. And then the neem seed oil also did not differ from the nose sprays in terms of the number of larvae present in 20 plants. But then we will go further and look at the intercropping system also. So the intercropping system, maize and groundnuts as against maize and soybean were also significantly different in terms of the number of larvae per 20 plants, but they were both different from the sow maize, where there was no intercropping. So it means the intercropping provided some form of protection against number of larvae in the plots. Then in terms of crop damage, insecticide actually minimize the level of crop damage compared to the neem seed oil and also the nose spray. So the insecticide offered the most protection, followed by the neem seed oil, which were both different from the nose spray. However, the intercropping...
Dr. Joseph, you just have very few minutes left.
Okay, good. I'm almost done.
Thanks.
Good. And then crop damage was also highest in the unprotected maize, but then lowest in the A-master treated plots. In terms of grain yield, the sow maize had the highest yield, of course, but then compared to the intercrops, maize with soybean was significantly similar to maize with groundnuts. So which means you can choose either of these crops as a partner to minimize fall armyworm damage. So some of the key observations were that soybean was a more compatible intercropping partner for fall armyworm management. And the farmers also agreed that maize plus protected with neem extracts had lower fall armyworm infestation compared to the untreated control. And the damage levels in the neem extract plots was lower than those in the untreated plots and was somehow comparable to the plots that were treated with chemicals. And though the farmers actually acknowledge that the neem seed oil neem products are good and inexpensive, the drudgery associated with the preparation may hinder the adoption. So that is one observation that we made from the field. So for future collaborations, we think there's a need to scale out these technologies to other communities, and the preparation of extension materials on the use of neem seed products, and also training of trainers of agric extension agents and other development agents who want to go into agro processing and processing of some of these plant-based products in terms of using them as pesticides. And then also establishment of some small centers of production for these things will be a very good intervention for some of these communities. And I believe the INCiTIS project can leverage on some of these things to help them build on the success that we are talking in the community that we selected. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph. This was a wonderful presentation and it was quite in detail, and I think it really helped us understand what your goals and achievements were. So we are now currently going over time, so we will have questions for one, so we will have time for one question per speaker. So we will start with Dr. James. You have a twofold question. One is fonio used exclusively as a substitute crop? And is there a value chain related to fonio similar to millet? And that is coupled with who carries out the trainings? Is it participants or researchers? So first is on the fonio itself, and the second one is on the practice. Do the trainers, are the trainings done by participants or researchers? So whenever you feel comfortable, you can respond.
I can jump in real quick on the fonio value chain. So the past April, we had a conference at the United Nations where partners in collaboration with our partners in Ghana, have studied or have presented the fonio value chain. So the EWA-BELT project has been carrying out studies and analysis on the value chain of fonio, and they have been evaluating both the social, the human, and the environmental and economic factors that are implicated in the value chain. So together with our partners in Ghana, so together with TSARI and KDC, our partners, the University of Cranfield in the United Kingdom is carrying out this analysis. So there will be, at the end of the project or in the coming months, there will be publications on the fonio value chain. So the answer to that question is yes, and I'll leave the other part to the question to Dr. James Kombiok, if you hear us.
I don't think he is currently at the meeting, so maybe he got kicked out due to slow internet. So we will move on to the question for Dr. Abrike and Michael.
I will ask him in any case, and I will revert back his answer to you all in the paper that we will publish.
Great, thank you so much, Martina. So for Dr. Abrike and Michael, how inclusive is the community engagement process for the onboarding and co-creation? So are participants informed about the costs, about what is expected in long term? Are they informed about the examples? So can you please just give us a quick understanding on this?
Yeah, okay, so the participants right from the onset, usually when they come, the first question normally they will ask is, can we really do this? It looks sophisticated. So as was explained in the presentations, what normally we do is that, in fact, every day in our living lab is an open day. Come and see what we have. And then when we see that you come, that is where we begin doing the interaction. And so right from day one, we're able to help you to understand what is happening there. And we're able to also let you understand that, yes, this is a prototype. Yes, it's expensive, but there are always options. As I was explaining the type of aquaponics facilities that we have there, I mentioned also the chop and flip method, which we adopted from one of our sister LLs in Nigeria. And instead of we using pumps, that depend on electricity to be able to circulate the water, and that of pumps to be able to aerate the water, we have engineered it in a way that you don't need electricity to do any circulation. We've done it in a way that every day you just come and you turn on the tap, and then out of the water in the fish tank goes into a sump, and then you fetch it, you put it in the media bed, and then it drains back into the fish tank slowly. And that is something that is very easy to do. As a matter of fact, the IBC tank that we bought, if you convert it from Ghana cedis to dollars, it's about $75. So you need just about $75 to, have that, container to be able to grow fish, and then to be able to grow your plants. So yes, right from the very beginning, we normally involve them. We let them know that, yes, this is a prototype. We need it to be here for a longer period of time. And so we have to invest a lot in it. But that is also why we do co-creation. When you come, we see what you have, and then we can help you to use what you have to get what you want.
Great, fantastic. Thank you so much for the answer. And I think it helps our audience understand that there is a support. Yes,
Olivier, I just wanted to maybe chip in something that the initial cost has to do with the capital cost and other things. But if you are looking at the stream of incomes and other things, it becomes profitable eventually. And that is why some of our engagement have been targeted towards policy makers. And I did say at the beginning that I have had very constructive interactions with people from the Ministry of Trade, the Ministry of Youth Employment, and they have expressed interest in how we could actually really use the Living Lab as a skills development center with the potential of a startup capital for early innovators. So we are seeing very strong indications that we could have opportunities for upscale of this technology and maybe some support coming into it for some people. So yes, there is some capital involvement. I don't want to say it's expensive because as an economist, then that becomes a very relative issue to talk. Yes, it's capital intensive at the beginning, but over time it pays off. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much, Michael. And we have time for one last question, and we'll direct it to Dr. Joseph. So, Dr. Joseph, how do you distinguish the impact of the biopesticide from the impact of the intercropping?
Thank you very much. As I said, even though this was a demonstration, we had different setups. We had the intercropping setup and also the biopesticide setup. So when we finished, we analyzed all of them first as individual experiments and also as a joint experiment to look at the interaction. So we are able to determine the effects of the individual effects and also the interaction effects. And we realized that the interaction wasn't significant, but then the individual effects, we were able to determine it in terms of the various parameters that we looked out for. And these were all obvious before the farmers in terms of even the crop damage. They peel and then they shell the maize and then they see the damage and they're able to actually draw the conclusions for themselves. And that's I think the best side of this participatory kind of assessment. They see it with their own eyes and they draw their own conclusion. And these are very easy to do because it's part of their farming system. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the response, and thank you for all of our participants who have stayed a little bit over time. So we have one last thing where we ask your feedback, but before we do that, we will ask you if you want to participate in a picture. So if you do want to participate in a picture, please turn on your camera, and we will do it quite quickly.
Turn on your camera.
All right, I think we have everything that we wanted. So thank you so much for the poses. And the last thing that we would like to ask you is just a quick feedback on the webinar itself. And of course, what we plan to do with this joint activity is to produce something that is publishable and meaningful. So what are some recommendations and research priorities that can be looked at in terms of improving food production in Ghana? So you've heard some of our experiences from a participatory approach perspective. So what else do you think as our audience would be a priority and an importance? So you can do so by following the link that I posted in the chat or quickly joining slido.com in your browser and typing in the code below. I'll give 1 minute for the questions and then we will move on to the next one. Right, I see somebody typing, so that's great. If you are having trouble logging into Slido and you still want to participate, you can leave your response in the chat as well. All right, a few more seconds. I see people also using the chat as well. Great. We will save these responses for later. All right, we can move on and then we will come back to these. So how do you see the future of crop production systems in Ghana? So this can be anything that you would like to share. Do you think it's going to be positive, negative? Do you think it's going to be beneficial? Do you think this approaches that we share today can produce a positive change? So anything that comes to mind. Again, if you see that Slido is complicated, please leave your response in the chat as well. Great. We see that more engagement is needed, so that's great because the topic today was on participatory approaches. Positive and doable, very positive outlook, fantastic. I see 2 more people writing, so we'll just wait a few seconds and then move on to the last before we close the session. So I'm going to let people finish up. And our last question for our audience would be, in one word, how would you summarize this webinar? So just one word, one phrase, whatever comes to your mind at a glance.
Also, if there were any shortcomings, please let us know so that we can do better next time.
Yeah, of course.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, this is Joseph. I think it's a very good, it was a very good platform. I learned a lot. But then the time. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. So I will then stop sharing and people can still participate and put their input in. And
Oh my God.
with this, we can close the recording.